Okay, so let's unpack this. We all grew up on the magic of Disney, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You remember the glittering animation, the soaring musical numbers, and always that guarantee of a happily ever after.
Exactly. But the stories those classics are built on, the ones Disney borrowed from and, let's say, polished, they're often rooted in some genuine darkness.
That's what we're getting into today.
We are. When you dive into the actual literary inspirations, Brothers Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, even Shakespeare, the contrast is just staggering.
So our mission today is to pull out those surprising and often really brutal little nuggets of knowledge that Disney smoothed over.
It should give you a much clearer sense of the bloody edge that classic literature really had.
Okay, let's start with the masters of brutal consequences, the Brothers Grimm.
Well, the Grimm tales were fundamentally morality lessons. They weren't just stories. They were didactic exercises where the punishment had to fit the crime.
And it had to be gruesome.
Visible, permanent, and gruesome. They put retribution above pretty much everything else.
And when you look at Snow White, the 1937 film is, surprisingly faithful in the setup.
It is. The poisoned apple, the kiss, the awakening.
Yeah.
It's all there. But they completely sanitized what happens to the evil queen.
They left out the grand finale of justice, let's call it.
Totally omitted it. In the Grimm tale, the prince awakens Snow White, they're getting married, and the evil queen actually shows up at the wedding.
Oh, bold move.
A very bold move. She thinks she's invincible, but she's recognized.
And the punishment is, well, it's horrific. It's not just death.
No, it's a public spectacle. She is forced to put her feet into a pair of red-hot iron slippers.
Red-hot iron slippers.
Yes, and she has to dance in them, literally, until she drops dead.
Wow. I mean, you can see why they left that out of a 1937 family film.
It just speaks to the different goals, right? Grimm wanted terrifying consequences. Disney wanted heroism.
Okay, that brings us to Cinderella. We think of the fairy godmother, the singing mice.
A pumpkin carriage.
But the Grimm version, it elevates the stepsister's desperation to this horrifying physical extreme.
Their commitment is chilling. When the prince comes with the slipper, their mother basically tells them to mutilate themselves.
You're kidding.
Not at all.
Yeah.
To fit into the slipper, one sister cuts off her toe,
Her toe.
and the other cuts off part of her heel. The prince is even fooled for a moment until the birds point out all the blood.
But that's not even the worst part, is it? The real horror comes after the wedding.
Yes, the final justice is delivered by Cinderella's little bird friends.
Her pigeon pals.
As Cinderella is walking down the aisle, her loyal pigeons descend and they pluck out the stepsister's eyes,
Oh my God.
leaving them blind and destitute for the rest of their lives. A permanent bloody end.
Okay, so the Brothers Grimm were all about physical gore and public shaming.
That's a good way to put it.
But if we move to someone like Hans Christian Andersen, the pain becomes different. It's more emotional, more existential.
Exactly. The Little Mermaid is the ultimate example of that.
Right. Andersen didn't care about a happy wedding ending. He wrote tragedy.
He really did. When Ariel, or the mermaid, in the story gets her legs, the source material is very clear. With every single step she takes, she feels like she's walking on sharp knives.
Constant, agonizing.
Constant. And it's all for nothing.
Because the prince marries someone else, her heart is broken. Disney gives Ariel the prince, but Andersen gives her this awful choice.
The Sea Witch offers her a deal. Kill the prince, and she could become a mermaid again.
But she doesn't.
She can't. She chooses sacrifice. She throws herself into the sea at dawn, knowing she'll just dissolve.
And become sea foam.
Become sea foam. No rescue, no magic, just non-existence.
That is just so bleak.
A completely tragic ending, driven by selfless love.
And that kind of psychological darkness, it even shows up in the story that loosely inspired Frozen.
The Snow Queen, yes. We think of Frozen as sisterly love, empowerment.
But the original story is far more sinister. It starts with the devil.
It does. The devil makes a magic mirror that only shows the bad and ugly side of everything. Yeah. And when it shatters, tiny splinters fly across the world.
And get into people's eyes and hearts.
Literally freezing their hearts, turning them cruel. That's what happens to the boy, Kai. He gets a splinter, rejects his friend Gerda, and then the Snow Queen takes him.
So it's not magic ice powers, it's a metaphor for cynicism.
Exactly. It's about the corrosive power of only seeing the bad in the world.
Wow. Okay, moving from the psychological to just intensely punitive, we have to talk about Collodi's Pinocchio.
Yes. The Disney version is surreal, but the original serial story from 1883 is just relentlessly punishing.
It's less about finding a conscience and more about enduring just extreme abuse.
It was a very dark form of Italian moralizing,
Yeah.
teaching obedience through fear. Pinocchio isn't just mischievous.
He's destructive,
Right. He accidentally kills the talking cricket pretty early on, just smashes it.
and he burns his own feet off.
Falls asleep too close to a stove and, yep, burns his feet clean off.
But the thing that gets me is the cat and the fox.
Oh, they aren't just con artists. They are straight up murderers.
They hang him.
They hang him from a tree to steal his money and leave him for dead. It takes the Blue Fairy actively intervening to save his life.
It makes Geppetto's fate, being stuck inside a terrible dogfish for 2 years, seem almost pleasant by comparison.
It really does. It's just a massive shift in tone. Disney stripped out all of that irreversible violence.
Which brings us to a few stories where the most mature themes, like death and non-consensual acts, were completely removed.
And few endings were changed as drastically as The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Disney gives Quasimodo social acceptance. He's a hero.
Victor Hugo's novel is an absolute tragedy. It's a statement on societal cruelty.
Frollo, his guardian, orchestrates Esmeralda's death. She's hanged,
And as she's being executed, Frollo laughs.
which just breaks Quasimodo.
Completely.
Yeah.
He takes his revenge, throws Frollo from the cathedral tower. But it's not a triumphant ending.
No.
The final, bleak act is Quasimodo going to Esmeralda's cemetery, lying down on her grave.
And he starves to death on her corpse.
He dies of starvation. It's a devastating end, the complete opposite of the film celebration.
Okay, next up, Mulan. The films follow the Ballad of Mulan pretty well, but there's another version, the Sui Tang Romance.
From 1695. And it takes a very harrowing turn at the end.
After she comes home, she finds her father has died.
And her identity as a woman is revealed, the local leader. He orders her to become his concubine.
A fate she finds completely unacceptable.
Absolutely. So rather than submit, she commits suicide.
Another tragic conclusion that's just completely removed from a modern empowering narrative.
And maybe the most shocking shift of all involves Sleeping Beauty.
We think we know the story.
We know the Perrault or Grimm versions,
Hmm.
but the very first published version by Jean-Baptiste Bazille, it's something else entirely.
He was writing for an adult audience, right?
Yes. And the themes are much darker than just a simple curse. The king finds the sleeping woman, Talia.
And he doesn't just kiss her.
No. The source says he gathers the first fruits of love while she is unconscious. He leaves her pregnant with twins.
While she's still asleep.
She remains asleep through the entire pregnancy and birth. She only wakes up because one of the babies sucks the cursed splinter out of her finger.
That is a completely different story, founded on an assault.
It could not be further from the true love's kiss we all know.
You know, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Not all of Disney's inspirations are fairy tales.
No, sometimes they lifted plots from high literary tragedy.
The Lion King, that Savannah adventure, is actually Shakespeare.
It is. The sources are clear. The inspiration is Hamlet. The plot structure is identical.
You have the ghost of the murdered father, the jealous uncle.
Simba seeking revenge on his uncle Scar for murdering his father Mufasa to seize the throne.
It directly mirrors Prince Hamlet seeking revenge on his uncle Claudius.
It's perfect. Scar is Claudius. Mufasa's ghost is King Hamlet's ghost. It's high tragedy just repackaged with catchy songs.
That connection is just fantastic. Okay, finally, let's circle back to the Grimm brothers with Rapunzel or Tangled.
The modern Disney heroine is so charismatic.
But the original story is just suffering for everyone involved.
Immense suffering. The witch finds out about the prince, so she cuts off Rapunzel's hair and throws her out into the wilderness.
And then she waits for the prince.
Uses the hair to trick him, lures him up the tower, and then pushes him out.
And he's blinded in the fall.
Blinded by the thorns below, he's forced to just wander the wilderness in despair for years,
Until he finds Rapunzel,
who by this point has given birth to twins all alone in isolation.
and his sight is restored by her tears.
For tears of happiness, exactly. But the cost of their happy ending was permanent mutilation and years of torment.
So if we pull all of this together, Disney's function seems pretty clear. They systematically turn these complex, painful stories
Stories of gore, suicide, psychological anguish.
into these clean narratives of hope, magic, and social acceptance.
What's really fascinating is how universal these basic stories must be to have lasted for centuries. But Disney, as you said, they systematically cut out the brutal consequences, the permanent endings.
It really makes you wonder.
Well, it raises a really important question, I think. If the original story served as these essential morality lessons, detailing real consequences.
The red-hot shoes, the blindness, the sea foam.
Exactly. What essential sobering lesson is lost when all of that is consistently replaced with a happily ever after kiss? What stands out to you as the most surprising omission?